So I have a video response to my Red Cortez video from the Progressive Padawan, and we are going to be teaching this young Padawan about prognostication. All of this alliteration is wonderful, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct. Sargon of Akkad has officially lost his mind.
I didn't realise he was the guy who made it official. I wonder if I can get a card or a placard or something to put behind me in the videos.
He has a Facebook, and here's what he posted to his Facebook. He said, "The Democratic Party has become the Socialist Party of America," and then linking the video to Ocasio, the Red Cortez video. So
I love it. I love it. And this is exactly why I did it. Someone was hyperbolic on the internet. Yes, okay, maybe. But I did link a video that explained my position rather clearly, which you watched and you will refer to multiple times, of course. But what's interesting to me is you think that this isn't a prediction of the future. I can't see how you think the corporate Democrats will last the next 10 years in the Democratic Party. Not only is the Hillary Clinton wing of the Democratic Party, which is what you're talking about, utterly failed, complete catastrophe, Donald Trump became the president, but they've lost the argument. I mean, their argument is never from principle, it's always out of pragmatism. And because, honestly, they don't have any principles, they can only argue for pragmatism and line their own wallets. And that's going to leave the progressive millennial insurgents to take over the party ideologically. And this is absolutely happening with the way that everyone's peacocking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is absolutely a socialist, isn't she? She won't compromise on these principles, but she will do deals to get to the end result, which is where her principles lie. It's not a surprise that her manifesto, her platform, isn't "seize the means of production, comrades," but it is definitely stepping in that direction, isn't it? And she is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, so what direction would you think she's going in? If I were a member of the British National Party, and my platform didn't look overtly fascist, but I said I'm not going to compromise on my fascist principles, do you think it would be okay to call me a fascist? And then when I joined a political party, say UKIP, and I was welcomed in with open arms, and all of me and my activists were suddenly riling up the party and getting loads of media attention, suddenly winning elections, would you not think that fascism was taking over UKIP? I mean, you probably do anyway, because... No, that's not true, actually. You probably don't think that. That's unfair, sorry. You would absolutely say that fascism is taking over UKIP because that's what would be happening. And socialism is taking over your party. I don't know why you're opposed to it. I don't see why you think that's a bad thing, because you're probably a socialist if you get right down to it, aren't you? I mean, you probably want equality of outcome, don't you?
This was, I mean, this is just mind-boggling because, you know, either he's just completely lying out of his ass and...
Why would I need to lie? She's so unbelievably open about her socialist affiliation. I mean, she is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. How on earth would I turn around and say that she's not a socialist? How can you turn around and say that she's not a socialist? All you can do is point to her platform and say, well, this isn't full socialism. And that's, oh, no, she's not a real socialist. She's not socialist enough to be a socialist. Come on, man. Come on, you can do better than this.
And he's just being a complete, like, smear merchant.
Wow. So socialism is a smear. I wonder why. Why on earth would people consider socialism to be a smear? I just can't imagine. But the thing is, she's a member of the fucking Democratic Socialist Party. Oh, sorry, not party, alliance. Sorry. It's not a party, it's a movement of socialists. So I don't think she considers being called a socialist a smear. Or she wouldn't have joined a group called the Democratic Socialists. I mean, I guess I'm way too credulous. I take people at their word. When they say, yes, I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, I think, well, that person's a socialist then. Sorry, carry on, buddy.
And a liar. Or, on the other hand, the other option is he's just gone insane and he's... Because...
Yeah, I'm going to go with the gone insane and is deluded because I know I'm not a liar.
If you think that the Democratic Party of the United States of America is somehow even remotely close to the Socialist Party...
Didn't they just aren't they all almost all on board with abolishing ICE now? Isn't Bernie not democratic and lefty enough for the activists in the Democratic Party? I mean, what you're going to do is you're going to point to the old guard of the party, people who are in their like 70s and 80s, who in 10 years' time won't even be alive, let alone be in office. And you're going to say to me, well, these people aren't socialists, and I agree with you. Those people are not socialists. They're what we call neoliberals, and they're looking for an out. They're looking for any way of gaining power so they can line their own pockets. Totally agree with you on that one. But the people coming after them very much are. And in 10 years' time, I promise you, they're going to be an openly socialist party, unless something dramatic happens. And I don't think something dramatic is going to change within the left in the next 10 years. I don't think the left is going to admit its faults. I don't think it's going to admit its failures. I think it's just going to keep going to the left, because that's what seems to be happening. I mean, Kyle was going on about it. I'm sure you've been going on about it. What's the option? What's the alternative? Where else can you go but socialism at this point?
The Socialist Party. You've lost all sense of reality.
Maybe I'm just looking a little bit further down the road than you are. I mean, imagine we're walking down a road, and you're looking at the ground, and I say, we're at an intersection, and you're just looking at a straight piece of ground, and you're like, you're insane. There is no intersection right here. This point of land that we're on is not an intersection. But I point 10 meters down the road and say, yeah, but there's an intersection there. You go, well, that's not where we are, is it? Despite the fact that we're walking towards the intersection, we are right now on a straight piece of road, and as far as I'm concerned, for the foreseeable future, we will be on a straight piece of road until the end of time.
I don't know how else to put it. There's so many different things. So first of all...
No kidding. Do you know what the word ethos means?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's not a socialist.
Yes, she is. Yes, she absolutely is, which is why she's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America.
She's a social democrat.
No, she's not.
She just incorrectly uses the term.
No, she doesn't. Which is why the person, she knows exactly what she's saying when she says that. Which is why the chap from Vice who interviewed her didn't say, are you a socialist? Assuming that she was a Democrat of some kind. He said, are you a Democrat? Assuming she was a socialist and wondering whether she was the kind of socialist who opposed democracy and was going to end up in tyranny. Spoiler alert, you are going to end up in tyranny if you get on the road of socialism, just so you know. But, sorry, do go on.
Democratic socialist, just like Bernie Sanders does.
Yeah, well then she's an idiot too then, isn't she? Then she's opening the door to people who are actually nefarious. People who are actually going to turn your country into a new Venezuela or a new Cuba. It's your choice if you want to open the door to these people, but you'll notice that I don't go around using fascist iconography because I don't want fascist entryism into my classically liberal political space. And if you don't care about this, then why on earth would I distinguish you from the socialists that will eventually shoot you in the back of the head, just like what happened to Cenk and Kyle when it came to the Justice Democrats? Metaphorically speaking, Padawan.
She's really just a social democrat. That's what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez really is.
If she really is that, why doesn't she fucking say it? Why does she join the Democratic Socialists? She is not just a social democrat. In fact, if I were you, I would probably just drop the word socialist. I would be like, look, we're not socialists. We're never going to be socialists. We are liberals. Presumably you are. I mean, maybe you're not. I don't know what you are. But if you want to have any kind of credible non-socialist platform, with me at least, you would have to be very, very clear about repudiating socialism on both the left and the right.
You hear what she talks about?
Oh, well, I mean, if she's only dog whistling, then she can't possibly be a socialist.
She said, hey, you know, I want Medicare for all, a living wage, free college, you know, just stuff that every other industrialized nation has.
Not true. We don't have free college here. You have to get a student loan here. And you know what? More people than ever are going to university in this country. So a student loan is actually a way to get people into universities without actually costing the taxpayer unbelievable amounts of money. Not that I don't pay unbelievable amounts of money as the taxpayer anyway, but you know what I mean.
Cool. That's too much to ask for, right?
Well, I mean, honestly, I guess the way that you should look at it is the way I look at it now, because I actually had this conundrum myself. I like the idea of having a universal healthcare in my country. I also like the idea of not having open borders, and so we have the two, and now they're coming to conflict, and you wouldn't believe the amount of money that every year the Conservative Party have to pledge to the National Health Service. It's actually ridiculous. But I don't want to get rid of the NHS. I want to close the borders to preserve the NHS. But then, if you would say, would you like the European Union to run your universal healthcare system, I would be probably up in arms about it. I'd be like, no, that's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to cost billions. It's going to be ruined. It's going to come down in tears. Now ask yourself, do you think the federal government of your country is good at running nationwide programs? Should there be a state's requirement for healthcare? Maybe. Maybe your states should be the experimental melting pots that they were, and each state that wants universal healthcare can have it, but only for residents of that state. How about that? That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that mean that the places that actually wanted to have taxpayer-funded healthcare could have it? I mean, I'm not an expert on your healthcare system. Maybe there are lots of reasons why that couldn't happen.
None of that is socialist.
How is that not socialist? Do socialists not want that? I mean, I'm not saying it's only socialist, but socialists also want these things. They also want to abolish ICE. How does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez feel about that? Obviously, she wants to get rid of it. How about a bunch of other powerful Democratic politicians? Oh, they're against ICE too.
None of that. They're not calling for the, any redistribution of wealth and the seizing of the means of production.
Are they not? This is the DSA's position of a vision of a socialist economy. I'll just direct you to the point that's really salient here. The social ownership characteristic of a socialist society will greatly limit inequality. Yes, it will. It will also destroy the market. In fact, widespread worker and public ownership will greatly lessen the corrosive effect of capitalist markets on people's lives. So they want widespread and public ownership. Do you understand that that's them just saying seize the means of production in words that don't sound scary, in words that aren't revolutionary Marxist-Leninist lingo? They still want the same thing, and they think that they can have a market while they do it. Well, I'll tell you what, Venezuela has demonstrated to us that that doesn't work. And it's never worked anywhere else that it's been tried. But don't worry, you think they're not doing it. I mean, you sound like an apologist to me. Why are you defending these people if you don't agree with them? Ask yourself, on what axioms are your beliefs founded? You can't just say, I'm for the good things and not for the bad things, because, like every socialist has ever done in history, in fact, because you're not going to get them. You've got to understand the consequences of your decisions, which socialists apparently can't do.
And, enforcing a policy of democracy amongst the workplace and, equal pay in the work.
That is exactly what the Democratic Socialists of America want to do, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a member of their club. For good reason. Because she appears to be a socialist in everything she says. She says she's not even going to compromise on these principles. She's just going to do bargains in order to get there eventually herself. What on earth are we even debating here, man? You're not correct here. You're completely wrong, and you must know this. Oh, but she's just a social democrat, though. Honestly, she's the nice kind.
That's not what they're advocating. They're not advocating for the workers owning the means of production.
They literally are on their website. They literally want that. That's their position. She's a member of their party or their organisation. Why would I think that's not also her position? I mean, it's not even a fucking political party. It's just an organisation of socialists. There's no reason for her to be a part of that unless she was affiliated with what they stand for. And I bet that if you just sat her down and read through it all with her, she'd say, yeah, I think that sounds great. Come on, man, you're making this shit up.
Nobody is. So...
Dude, what do you think all of the protests against ICE are? They're fucking commies running around America with their black and red flags, screaming, no guns, no wall, no USA at all, no ICE. They want to get rid of ICE, they want to get rid of profit, they want to get rid of capitalism in your country. As far as I'm concerned, they are socialists, if not worse. I don't know why you would defend them.
Let's look at the minorities, the Democratic, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Why? In 10 years she's going to be dead. Who gives a fuck about her opinion? We're looking at trends. And the way the Democratic Party is trending is far to the left. And it's going to get further and further because there is no counter-argument, because suddenly being a liberal being in favour of capitalism is quote-unquote right fucking wing. I know because I was the one I've been personally kicked out of the left for not being a socialist.
You know, it's one thing to be socialist because that's super, you know, off the spectrum when you're talking about like actual political spectrums.
Okay, and the democratic socialists, of which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is therefore off the spectrum. She's with them. She voluntarily joined this. For fuck's sake. And it's not like her positions aren't socialist. They're just not radical socialist positions. She is, as the fascists would say, keeping her power level a secret. She is hiding it because she doesn't want you to know how radical she is. That's fine. At least we know where we stand. Stop making excuses.
But these Democrats are not even, you know, close in...
No shit. The old guard Democrats are not socialists, I know, which is why they're so uncomfortable with the leftward lurch of the Democratic Party. But they've lost any moral argument that was happening within the party, and now the socialists are going full steam ahead. And it's not going to stop, because as far as you're concerned, capitalism and liberalism are right-wing. Dude, come on.
In certain countries, they'd be considered conservatives, or more right than conservatives, because to my understanding, conservatives in Canada don't want to abolish the, you know, their universal healthcare system.
Yes, it's going to be politically untenable. It would just be suicide for the party. I don't know why else that would be difficult to understand. That doesn't necessarily reflect their left-wing values, although many of them do accept left-wing values, in fact. But that doesn't mean they're left-wingers themselves, that just means they're political realists. But carry on.
The closest that, or I guess you could say like the furthest left the Democratic Party has really seen is Bernie Sanders.
Bullshit. Bernie Sanders isn't far enough left, as we can see by him getting chewed out by his own supporters for not wanting to abolish ICE. If he's not against the concept of borders, he's not a fucking left-winger anymore, because frankly, your party is infested with people who are what you really could call proto-communists. They want to abolish private ownership. They want to abolish borders. They want international worker-controlled industry and economy, assuming they don't want to outright ban money, which I bet a bunch of them would. I bet if you polled them, do you want money to be outlawed? Not will it be outlawed. Would you think that would be a good, morally well-functioning society if we abolished money? I bet that many of them would say yes. I bet it'd be a staggering number of them as well.
And even Bernie Sanders is not even close to a socialist. He's just a social democrat.
Yes, which makes him the idiot who's opened the door to this and led it into your party.
He's not. And Sargon of Akkad has admitted this, by the way. If you
I'm very clear about that, yeah.
Watch the Red Cortez video, in the beginning, he literally breaks down the difference between democratic socialism.
Man, I don't know what's going on with your mic. It must be your connection, because that mic looks really good. And I bet it sounds really good as well. I might have to get a mic like that. Someone's got to tell me what kind of mic that is. I need to get a mic. I mean, don't worry, I'm very happy with my mic, but, like, I've had it for a few years, and honestly, if I don't buy shit for work, then the tax man comes and whacks me. You know, I may as well waste money on a $2,000 mic or something rather than give it to the government. I'm not much of a socialist, to be honest. But, what were you saying?
And he says, Bernie Sanders isn't actually a democratic socialist. He's a social democrat.
Yes, I pointed out the difference accurately and showed that Bernie Sanders was indeed a social democrat. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a democratic socialist. Therefore, you should be her opponent, as I am.
So he's well aware of this.
Yes, but she's winning. She's got the cultural zeitgeist behind her in the Democratic Party, doesn't she? The old fuddy-duddy capitalists like Dianne Feinstein and Hillary Clinton, they're on their way out, my friend. Just watch.
So you're talking about Bernie Sanders was cheated out of a fair election, but he wasn't able to win. So what you're talking about is, you're talking about the Democratic Party. The person who got closest to voting in, who's really like the furthest left, is a social democrat who advocates for milquetoast things.
Yeah, Bernie does, because that's Bernie, because he's old. But if you were to elect a millennial, like Cortez, then she'll be pretty damn radical when it comes to her policy positions. And I tell you what, I bet in 5-10 years time you're going to be making videos to me saying, well look, just because she wants worker control of the means of production doesn't mean she's a socialist. I guess we'll wrap up there, because you seem to be repeating points now. But trust me, man, this is the way your party's going. And if you're not on board with it, you should say something now. You should stand up and make your voice heard, because it ain't going to get any better. There's no argument for not being a socialist in the Democratic Party at the moment. Every moral argument that's being made is against capitalism and for socialism. Because as far as the left is concerned, there can no longer be left-wing liberals. All the liberals are right-wing. Hence, the walk-away movement. Come on, man. It's not just Russian bots.